Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the Dustin and LeBleu CEO podcast. I am Dustin, and I'm joined by my main man,
Austin.
You're not Hulk today. That's good,
dude. I'm telling you what, I'm actually kind of tired too. We just had a pretty good, pretty heavy gym session there, and you know what, we're gonna try to make it through this podcast and keep an upbeat vibe to it. But
well, this is gonna be part of the podcast. So we worked out we kind of jammed like an hour and a half workout into like 35 minutes. So this is gonna be right on point with our time episode.
Exactly.
So we're going to talk about owning time. But first, make sure to share the podcast, review the podcast, and like it or whatever you can do on whatever platform you're listening to. Just do something.
Exactly.
Okay?
Please. Keep just please. But keep in mind, guys, that we do this for it's like, no money involved, nonprofit, whatever you want to call it. You know what? We just do this. It's just to help people. That's basically what this is just giving our advice and everything to people for, what's worked for us. So,
yeah,
definitely no money involved in this at all whatsoever. But anyway, let's jump into this. So, again, the basic idea of this podcast is going to be owning time and don't let time own you.
Yeah, and I think that's a really big one for most business owners. And I'll be honest, really until probably a year ago, I didn't really understand this. Like I tried to do everything, try to be involved in every situation, whether it be a little fire or a big fire. I tried to put out everything I could. And really what that does, it really stunts your growth as a business because you can't do a lot of things that you need to do as a business owner when you're stuck putting out little fires and things like that. So, but really first, I think, we should go over probably a pet peeve of mine, man, and it's really meetings. I think most business owners like really overdo this.
Yeah, and I know that we've tried to, have a set meeting schedule and, all that before. I mean, at one point we were trying to do on like a quick 15-minute meeting every morning, but then that quick 15 minutes turned into a 30-minute sit-down session where we all just sat there and talked and like we would black squirrel and go off in the wrong direction.
Oh, yeah. What did you watch on TV last night? What happened to the game? That's all kind of wasted time is what it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, that time right there is, that's actual waste. I mean, that's time that could have been beneficial going towards something else, whether it had been, answering emails or, hell, any sort of actual work aside from talking.
Yeah, and it usually would be like, we tried that. But I think most business owners, they try to do the daily meeting. And like you said, it'll start off with like a 15-minute type deal. And then it ends up being 30 minutes to, man, we've sat in some before that have been an hour and a half. And we're not meeting about actual, how do we grow the business, right? That's what we should be talking about. What should we be getting done for the day? All those sorts of things. Well, it turns into, who won the freaking Super Bowl or whatever.
We're talking about last night's softball game or something like that.
Yeah, the team softball. So that's where I think a lot of wasted time happens. And I really feel like that's something that you can cut out. Not cut out as a whole, but kind of schedule it on the time. Schedule it when things need to be met about.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, I mean, schedule it, like around the important time of the week or, Mondays are always hectic, so move it on later in the week, maybe like a Wednesday. You're in that middle of the week. Talk about what you guys need to finish. For the the rest of the week, going on later in the month. And I know for us, we've kind of moved it from where it was like an everyday thing to almost like a bi-weekly type thing. Even though in the morning, Jimmy he still comes around and makes sure that we got our stuff going on. But, that's like you said, you have to have the right people in place to take care of the smaller things like the everyday meeting. Whereas, on a biweekly manner, we'll actually sit down, talk about what we've accomplished, what our goals are for the rest of the month. And,
Sure.
It's just kind of beneficial to look at things like that. It's not wasting time. It's just, actually diligently planning when you actually need to have a, full thought out meeting with your employees.
And it's not just like a meeting with your employees too. It could be like, like on my side, it's like the insurance guy wants to call and meet about the insurance. Like I don't need to sit down and meet about that. Yeah. So really, guys, you have to kind of learn to say no. You got to put the word no in your vocabulary, because if not, you're gonna be meeting with everybody who wants to sell you. Like I'm not joking, man. Furniture. Oh man, you need to revamp your furniture. No, I don't. I don't need to revamp my furniture.
Didn't you have? Wasn't it like 4 engineers in the span of like 3 days?
Yes.
After
yes.
the weather and all that in the warehouse,
yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah, so you'll get stuff like that, and really that's going to be a waste of time. You can usually have a conversation on the phone, or most of the time by email. And that's usually even the best because you know what was said. There's you said this, you said that.
But don't you love it? Don't you love it when they're like, hey, we need to see you in person, and then you show up in person, and the meeting takes all of like 5 minutes, and that's it, and they just literally wasted your time when it could have, like you said, been sent through email.
Absolutely.
All they wanted was like the cordial hello, handshake. All right, well, we're gonna fix this. Okay, well, that's great.
Yeah,
and that's it. But we catch a lot of that, especially like you said with people trying to sell stuff. Good Lord.
Oh yeah, and I think that's for if you have a storefront or really just anything. If you're a manager of a store or whatever, you got to really cut out. I mean, the best way to say it is you got to cut out a lot of the bullshit. Yeah. Because if you're spending that time on those kind of things, you're not spending on your business and growing the business, and that's how you're gonna grow employees and feed a lot of families and do a lot of good things by doing that.
Yeah, and kind of mixing into that point of growing the business. I mean, you as the business owner, you kind of purvey new ideas, and you basically you grow everything. And one thing, as an employee, and as kind of speaking for other employees, we kind of have to respect your time. We have to respect the time that you have in a single day for getting things done, and for implementing new ideas into the company. And I feel like a few of us, kind of still forget, like, you have to have your distance, and you can't be there to spoon feed everybody all day long.
Yeah, it's huge, man. It's a real good point you bring up, actually, Austin, because, as a business owner, you can't be putting out, like I said at the beginning, you can't be putting out these small fires. So you need employees that understand that, if something small happens, like, so let's give an example of a small fire. Okay, somebody accidentally send an email out without so-and-so attached. Sometimes that can be the biggest deal on the face of the planet, when in reality, it's not a big deal. Just fix the situation. Most employees need to understand that they can fix that. That way, the business owner can spend their time creating new products, or what's the new avenue to grow the business. There's so much stuff like that employees like you and most of our guys now understand that's what I need to be doing. And a lot of them are doing that as well too.
And the thing is like in a situation, it's something where you need to raise the self-awareness in your employees to understand that they need to respect your time, because if they never really get that realization that your time is key, and they constantly come to you, then as a business owner, like you're always wanting to help people, so it's like you almost start to feel guilty that you're not always there.
Right.
But the thing is you're there. You're just, I mean that in the sense of you're not always by their side directing them in every step. And that's not right. As a business owner, you shouldn't have to feel guilty for not, I guess, holding someone's hand all day long.
Yeah. And I think that's, something to be said too, is like, I'm not always at the office. I won't sit there and I'm not a micromanage guy. I don't like to micromanage people. It gets annoying. I think your employees get annoyed by that. So I have a separate office that I like to go to during the day. Now, I'll still go into the office and things like that, and me and the employees have direct communication whenever we need. But I find it's best because I can spend time doing the things I need to be doing to forward the business, thinking 10 years from now, right?
Yep.
To where I'm not bugging most of the employees at work, and it allows them to kind of put out their own fires themselves rather than having to look to me. Because what happens is if I walk in the office, every little thing will get blown out of proportion, and it really doesn't need to be.
No, I mean, in essence, man, it's helped a lot of people. I want to just call it growing up in the business. It's helped a lot of people, develop more of a business sense, in that, like you said, we can put out our own fires. We can, if there's a situation, we can actually put that thought process into it and fix it ourselves, as opposed to wasting 5 minutes of your day, 10 minutes of your day. And that even goes so far as, like the people directly below you, like, we don't have to go bug Cody. We don't have to go bug Jimmy or anybody. We can fix the smaller problems ourselves. And, it's almost like, you being in a separate, like a satellite location away from the main office. It's beneficial to a lot of people, even though they don't, quite realize it yet.
Yeah. And that's very true. And then also too, I guess for point number 3, you have to, as a business owner, you have to have those right key people in place. If you don't have the key people in place, you're always going to find that, and by key people, I mean like your head management, if let's say you're not the CEO, like a lot of people, Like I'm the CEO of 11 different companies, 10 different companies, but one of the companies I'm not anymore because I put somebody in place, but it had to be done because he was the right person to take care of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing as a business owner to sometimes take a step back and, not be, I guess, arrogant and think you can do everything. And that goes to a podcast we did recently. Don't think you can do it all.
Yeah, that would be last week's episode. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, definitely go back and listen to it. But it's you can't ever have a hesitation or a sense of guilt that if you're putting in somebody that can handle situations better, putting them in over per se, like a really good friend or something like that. Like you have to learn as a business owner how to differentiate between the right move and the move that like I don't want to say emotions because emotionally what's
that's true. Yeah, emotional move.
Yeah. So I mean, you have to learn. Like there's a fine line there, and if you make the wrong move, it could really actually hurt the company.
Yeah, it could, and that's like you said, the emotional move. I mean, I'll just say right now, I've been very guilty of that because we have a lot of employees and friends that work here. We have over 200 people now. Well, I'd say probably, what would you say, maybe a quarter is probably friends or family.
Yeah.
That's pretty that have been here for a while. So it's like it is an emotional move sometimes, and it is hard. But you have to be willing to, at some point, understand that you're paying these people. So it's like they are your friends and your family, but you have to be willing to understand that they can move on if they're not doing their job, because ultimately that's costing you time if they're not doing what they need to be doing.
Exactly. So, and that's the thing is like let's jump to another point here is that like your time at work needs to be spent as time at work. I know that's like redundant sounding, but you know what? How many times have you seemingly walked in and there'll be a group of people just sitting there chatting away, or you'll walk in, and someone will be just stuck there on their phone that doesn't run social media, and it's just like, are you guys actually optimizing the time in the office doing what you need to so when you go home you have that time with your family, or are you sitting here at work, talking, texting your best friend or like your wife in like a manner that shouldn't be, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying don't text your significant other or your family in the day, but there's a like gray area between
but understand that if you're spending, and this does, man, that's a good point, because here's the deal. A lot of people, they sit there and they stare at a computer and they'll go, man, I worked my ass off today. Well, you really didn't, because I constantly will see you on your phone texting. Well, your mind is not going to be in the right place when you're constantly texting other people that outside of work, when you could be handling all your business at work, to where when you do get home, you have your family time.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I'm not going to lie, man. If somebody doesn't get their work done, I'm going to call them after hours and be like, yo, come on, man. Or I'll just do it for them and then look stupid the next day. Yep. Like, I'm like that. So,
yeah.
And I don't like to do that. I don't like to do that, but sometimes you have to prove a point. But ultimately, we all want to spend time with our family, and we preach that here at work, man. Spend time with your family. Be a family man. Like, be a real man. Take care of your kids. That's one of our little mottos we go on.
Yeah. And, not only on cell phones and stuff like that, man, but even like on Facebook, like we see you. Like, like obviously all the companies have Facebook profile pages, and, normally each tab has a different company open on it. And a lot of people forget that on the right-hand side, a feature that was introduced a few years ago is like, basically shows updates of everything that your friends are doing. So we can, quite literally we see that, hey, you're liking someone's stuff, commenting on it all day long. And then you're going to be like, no, I wasn't on Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay.
or the common one will be, and you'll see this a lot, is, I didn't have time to do anything that day. I was so busy. I had no time. And then you'll go look on Facebook, and dude is posted about, man, I love my girl and this and that. Like, so you didn't have time to do anything, but you had time to make a Facebook post. Yeah. Come on, man.
Yeah, check out this video of these cool trucks with big motors and bald eagles. It's like, I don't know. That's I don't know where that came from, but it's the fact of, like if you've got excuses for the lack of work, then odds are you're not optimizing your time. Period. No. You're letting it own you. You're literally letting your time slip away from you and it's affecting your workflow. And this goes out to employees more so than a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're an employee listening to this, don't be that guy or girl. Like, just please don't, because trust me, I've been there. I've been in those shoes before. Where I'm like, man, I've done so much work today, and then I'll look back at it and I'm like, wow, I didn't do anything. Or like,
you get sidetracked.
Yeah. But,
and it does go to business owners, because ultimately, if I'm not, if your employees underneath you are not getting the things they need to get done, like I said before, I'm one of those guys that'll go in and try to fix it. And it's really something I shouldn't be doing, because it's taking away from my time with my family, or my time. Like, I'm a late worker. I like to work late at night. Like, when my kids go to sleep, my wife goes to sleep, I like to spend time doing stuff. So it's better for me to be doing new things rather than just catching up on what somebody should have been doing and what they're getting paid for.
Yeah. And then, we'll jump towards one of, kind of getting in towards one of our final points, which is just realize that you only have so much time and you can't handle everything in one day. That's a point that, I feel like a lot of people might miss, is that, they're like, oh, optimize time. Well, I'm going to get all this done today. And they have this monster list wrote down. And then at the end of the day, you might have half of it, maybe a quarter of it done. But then, like, your expectations versus reality and what you can actually do in a span of, let's say 10 hours or, a little bit more than that is way over what you can actually do physically.
Right.
And I think that might actually affect the mentality of business owners.
Yeah, I mean, definitely have a list that's doable. I mean, you want to have you want to have big goals and stuff, but you also want to have doable goals. Don't put something that damn well you cannot do in a certain time span, because it's gonna kind of mess you up mentally going forward.
Yeah,
and it's just gonna waste time the next day, because you're so worried about what you didn't get done. It's messing up the next day's program.
Yeah, so that's just that's a good thing to do. I used to catch myself, like, I'd write down this big list. I'm like, man, I'm going to build 2 websites today. I'm going to get like 900 banners done. I'm going to plan out all these different social media campaigns for 3 different brands. And at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, I started to get down on myself. And then I realized, well, I actually did get work done, and I can't, realistically expect myself to do, 4 days worth of work in 10 to 12 hours. It's just not going to happen. But again, that comes with, optimize the time that you have to make sure you can get the most amount done in that time period. But then again, don't overset your expectations to where you set yourself up for failure, which in turn, like Dustin said, it mentally affects you and makes you feel like you're, lesser or not doing such a good job, when in reality,
absolutely,
you are.
Yeah. And I think another thing, I had a guy who does some work for us outside the business, and he owns a business as well. And he's been doing business, I'm going to say, for maybe 2 years or something like that. Well, he actually asked me on the phone. He's like, hey man, how do I step away from doing the everyday work of the business? You know what I'm saying? Like, when I started, I had to do a lot of things, including, billing, shipping, selling, everything, hitting the road, all that kind of stuff. And I see what he's saying. Like, it's very, very hard to get people around you, especially when you're a startup business, because you may not have the funds to really pay somebody to kind of get that extra time that he can spend growing the business, right?
Yeah.
So I really thought about that. And I kind of went back. The only thing I can really do here is go back to myself. So I had the same kind of problem. And ultimately, man, I had to hire. I couldn't give anybody, like $100,000 a year salary. It just wasn't in the books. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I had to get some people in and just try them out, and just like, look here, if you do this, I'll get you here. If you can make it to this level, I'll get you here. I'm big about that. Like, show what you can do.
100%.
I'm gonna reward you. And I think the answer to that question is, you have to get somebody on somewhat of a reward basis. You have to sell them on the vision of the business, because it's going to be very tough to find a good quality person at this set rate when you can't pay it, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have the money to pay this. So you've got to give somebody some levels and understanding that you're going to grow, and almost sell them on the vision of what you're seeing, so they can ultimately make 100, 200, 300,000 a year.
Exactly. Well, and that's a huge point too. I really respect that one too, because, it's like, like you said, man, like a lot of people in the beginning, like a startup business, they're not going to have that, like that capability to just, outright foot a monster salary to have someone come in and fill the position that they've played in for so long. And they want somebody to fulfill it just as they have. And, you want someone as dedicated to it as you are. And if you give them goals, then you know what, their dedication is going to be there. So, I mean,
yeah, it's big. And you have to be able to step away from doing those everyday kind of mundane type jobs to grow your business. So you're going to find yourself, if you don't make some of these moves, in the same spot because you just going to time,
well, yeah,
man. You don't have enough time to grow this thing.
Well, yeah, and if you don't, if you're not allowed to step away and grow new ideas, you're going to be one of those businesses that you see all the time that starts up, does great for like 6-7 months, and then all of a sudden it's like you never hear about them again. And it's because their competitors evolved and they're stuck back with one product doing the same thing, and eventually it dies out. And it's a sad thing to see, but they're going to die out when the competition introduces new things and people are like, I'm just going to go over here.
I think it goes to that stat of, I believe it was like 4% of businesses actually stay open, and like 2% of those don't even really make money because the person running the business is just going in circles.
Yeah.
They're just they don't want to work for anybody, but they're just doing the same thing over and over, but not really getting anywhere, like a hamster on a wheel, I guess. I mean, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah. But I mean, like, you know what, just in general, let's, I guess real quick, let's just recap the points. Just that way we can head towards, optimizing our time and wrapping this up real quick. But, like going back to like the first point on here, try to cut out non-essential, meetings.
We're not saying don't do meetings, but make sure the meeting is effective.
Yeah.
Don't just do a meeting to act like you're important. Just do it when it needs to be.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of maybe another synonym for meeting, or like whatever that effectively in your day that you could take out that's just really non-essential. But going back to two, like the second point is like make sure that your employees understand that your time is valuable. Like draw that line there and have them, I guess, acknowledge it, because if you don't,
show them. Here's the deal, man. Show them why your time is valuable and what it's valuable for. That way they understand it.
Yeah.
So they're not just like, oh, this dude's not doing anything.
Yeah. I mean, like to say what, like the same way with that one company where you stepped back and, the person filling in has done great and all the other employees have noticed, okay, hey, he needs to step away. Got to, grow some new ideas. And it's sure. Actually turned out to work out great. I mean, it's done great. Hit back on number 3 is don't feel guilty, that you have to hire the right people to fulfill certain roles in your company. I mean, it may not be family members, it may not be your best friend, but it's going to be the right move just overall. And
I think the main point there is don't feel guilty about taking a step back to grow your business, but let somebody else step forward.
Exactly. And then, just, wrapping it up with the, number 4 is, if you're at work, spend time working. Like as mundane as that sounds, like don't be at work and be messing around on Facebook or on some social media if you're not like a social media marketing person. Like don't waste time.
This sounds like a stupid point, but it really is true, man. I guarantee you, a year ago I could walk through the office and find most people literally wasting their time and wasting my time too, because they're not doing the job at hand.
Yeah.
And that ultimately goes back to me not making that priority to put that in place.
Yeah. And if
now we've grown and done that.
Yeah. And if you think the business owner is stupid and not looking at the tabs that you have open on your computer, you're wrong. Like he knows, she knows, they're looking over your shoulder. And then, man, I think that pretty much, I know we had a 5th one there, but it kind of rounds everything out there.
It does.
I think that, hopefully this reaches through to people, not only just people that like employees, business owners, everybody in general, is that, your time is precious and the time that you have needs to be, like actually utilized in a beneficial way. Or also,
spend it growing the business. At the end of the day, man, I always say this to you guys and to everybody that works for us, like, hey, at the end of the day, the better we do as a company, the more money you're going to make. We never pay minimum wage. We always pay as much as humanly possible to get everybody happy and doing their job effectively, and they're well rewarded. So as a business owner too, you got to be able to do that as well. Don't treat your people like crap.
Don't expect people to step up and be in those positions without some sort of I guess reward for it.
Pay, man.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, man, I think that for me pretty much wraps it up there, or at least gets the idea across. I don't want to leave it on a dull note.
No, that's it. I mean, we usually try to go with a little longer of a podcast, but hey, this is a time one. So for the sake of time, we're not going to go for a whole hour or 35 minutes or whatever. We're going to stop it at 25:12. Rock out.
See you guys. Bye.